Shri Shri Radhamadeva ki jai.
Jai.
Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Jai.
Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari
Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari
Gopi Jana Vallabha Jaya Girivardhari
Gopi Vallabha Jaya Girivardhari
Yashodanandana Rajajana Ranjana
Yashodanandana Brajajanaranja
Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana
Yashodanandana Brajajanaranja
Munadira Vanachari
Yamuna Tiravanachari
Yamunatira Vanachari
Yamuna Tiravanachari
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya
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 Om Bhagavate Vasudevaya
Narayanam Namaskritya Narang Shaiva Narottamam Deving Saraswating Vyasam Tato Jayamudiraet Nashtaprayeshva Padreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtaki Jai Srimad Bhagavatam. So we're on Canto 1, Chapter 8, text 41. Queen Kunti's prayer is continuing on 841. Atha Vishvesha Vishvatman Vishvamurte Svakeshu me Sneha Pasham Imam Chinti Dhritam Parnushu Virishnishu. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Jai.
O Lord of the universe, soul of the universe, O personality of the form of the universe, please, therefore, sever my tie of affection for my kinsmen, the Pandavas and the Vrishnis. Purport. A pure devotee of the Lord is ashamed to ask anything in self-interest from the Lord. But the householders are sometimes obliged to ask favors from the Lord, being bound by the tie of family affection. Srimati Kunti Devi was conscious of this fact, and therefore she prayed to the Lord to cut off the affectionate tie from her own kinsmen, the Pandavas and the Vrishnis. The Pandavas are her own sons, and the Vrishnis are the members of her paternal family. Krishna was equally related to both the families. Both the families required the Lord's help, because both were dependent devotees of the Lord. Srimati Kunti Devi wished Sri Krishna to remain with her sons, the Pandavas, but by his doing so, her paternal house would be bereft of the benefit. All these partialities troubled the mind of Kunti, and therefore she desired to cut off the affectionate tie. A pure devotee cuts off the limited ties of affection for his family and widens his activities of devotional service for all forgotten souls. The typical example is the band of 6 Goswamis who followed the path of Lord Chaitanya. All of them belonged to the most enlightened and cultured, rich families of the higher castes. But for the benefit of the massive population, they left their comfortable homes and became mendicants. To cut off all family affection means to broaden the field of activities. Without doing this, no one can be qualified as a brahmana, a king, a public leader, or a devotee of the Lord. The personality of Godhead as an ideal king showed this by example. Sri Ramachandra cut off the tie of affection for his beloved wife to manifest the qualities of an ideal king. Such personalities as a Brahmana, a devotee, a king, or a public leader must be very broad-minded in discharging their respective duties. Srimati Kunti Devi was conscious of this fact, and being weak, she prayed to be free from such bondage of material affection. The Lord is addressed as the Lord of the universe, or the Lord of the universal mind, indicating his all-powerful ability to cut the hard knot of family affection. Therefore, it is sometimes experienced that the Lord, out of his special affinity towards a weak devotee, breaks the family affection by force of circumstances arranged by his all-powerful energy. By doing so, he causes the devotee to become completely dependent on him, and thus clears the path for his going back to Godhead. Om Jnana-timirandhasya Jnananjana-shalakaya Chakshunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Vanchakalpatarupshashta Kripasantubhyeva Cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Rasa Adi Gaura Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna. Okay, so in the previous verses, Kunti's been talking about the greatness of Krishna and how everyone's benefit is affected. Everyone has so much benefit generated because Krishna is present. And so she's recognizing in herself a sense of partiality. But I have a sense of Krishna. I have a sense of loyalty to these particular people, right? And also those other people, my extended family. And then Prabhupada points out that there's this way in which it's almost like contradictory because she wants Krishna to stay with her and not leave her and her sons, but then he's supposed to leave so he can go serve the devotees and perform all these other activities with those set of devotees who are also her family. And so she's recognizing this duality, and she recognizes that this doesn't really have a place in her heart. It's actually external. So she's saying, okay, so this is hypocrisy. This is actually contradiction, because everywhere you go, everyone gets benefited, and you're the soul of everyone, and the whole universe is yours. So why am I drawing this distinction between my people and other people, right? Why am I saying that you should stay here, and not even my extended family should have you? This is just material thinking. Please sever these artificial ties of affection. This is a very radical statement, right? Because we see that in the general course of material activities, in society, material society, people actually really respect a person's ability to set aside their own gross selfishness to take care of their family, right? It's like, what do they say about somebody when they pass away? Oh, they took care of their family. They were a good family person, good husband, good wife, good mother, father, good son, daughter, right? And this is important because the way that society is organized, the universe is organized, being part of a family and potentially, extending that into the next generation is actually there to purify the soul of low-level selfishness because the ego gets decentralized from the most insignificant place of just this particular soul. In fact, not even the soul, we just have an ego around our own body, like as if we are the body. But we gets pushed outward. Okay, so then it's like my family too. I care about them. And it's considered to be a really abominable person who actually doesn't even take care of their own family, right? Who will be vicious to others outside their family, but you can say like, oh, but at least they took care of their family. This is the premise of movies like The Godfather, where you have violent criminal families who are very sweet and loving at home, but perform murder for the sake of protecting family interests. It's like that duality. It's really a truly degraded person who doesn't even respect their own children, right? Kills their own children, or their parents, like that. And so this is the social context where Kunti is saying this, and therefore it's very shocking. Let this tie of affection be severed. It's like, oh wait, is she saying that she wants to live like a barbarian? She wants to be worse than, Don Corleone, who like murders people outside his family but protects his own children? No, no, no. This is not on that level. This is completely transcendent to the material platform. She's actually saying, I don't want to be restricted to this material platform where I see that I have some so-called friends and some so-called enemies. Because she knows that the basis of that so-called friendship and enemyship is really just the body. Oh, I'm related to these people by body, right? And these other people I'm not. Or these people I agree with, so they agree with my subtle body. These people I don't agree with, so they don't agree with my subtle body, right? On ideological consideration. So they're not my people. These are my people. That's all nonsense, she's saying. You are, she says here, you're the Lord of the universe, soul of the universe, personality of the form of the universe. So she's emphasizing and repeating the non-sectarian, non-divisive nature, right, of divinity. That we may have so many different names for the sun, but the sun shines its light, spreads its heat to everybody, whether that person respects them, appreciates them, is aware of them or not. It's just neutral. It gives to everybody. We're walking under that sun, we're walking under the same sky. Similarly, the source is the source, right? And Krishna is the source for everybody, not just the Krishna devotees, not just those who are with him in person, not just this person or that person, or Indians or men or women or anyone. No, everybody. We have this beautiful deity Jagannath, right? Jagannath means Jagat Nata. The Sanskrit Jagat Nata becomes Jagannatha. Jagat means the universe. Nata means Lord. Jagannath Prabhupada talked like this in criticizing the ideas, the kind of like considerations of the modern Jagannath temple that won't allow certain Westerners and also some Indians based on their caste into the temple. That's a reaction to like British imperialism, things like that. Prabhupada said, well, Jagannath means Lord of the universe, not just, Indianath, right? Or Puri Nath, the city. No, no, he's Lord of the universe, everybody, all living entities and inanimate matter. So Kunti knows this very well. And she's noticing that even though she's a pure devotee, being in the world, she automatically becomes conditioned. Not that she becomes conditioned, but there's a certain flow there. She's a pure soul, she remains pure. She's an eternal associate, but she notices there's a flow to this world, right? There's an impetus, a certain momentum, and you get caught up in that. And that's true for a pure devotee like her. How much more true is it for persons like myself who are just conditioned? There's momentum of our past karma, momentum of our family, of our language, of our religion, of our credo, of our political affiliation, of our skin color, of our height, of our sexual orientation, of our preferences. All these things create division. And so she's saying here, cut off that tie of affection. That's artificial. That can go. She doesn't say, if you do that, then I can just like leave my family and go wander and just be with you, in meditation. She's not saying that, nor does she ever operate that way. She's saying, inside me, there's hypocrisy. I want to love you, the soul of the universe, but I'm torn, right? And I know we can all relate to this because we all have our family attachments and different kinds of material attachments. I know I should be chanting japa, but I want to scroll on YouTube. I know I want to actually, my best interest is reading Bhagavatam right now. I'm going to the Association of Devotees, but I want to sleep in, even though I know my body doesn't need it. And it's like, okay, this is where things get real. She's showing for us, she's modeling for us the behavior of a sincere devotee. Sincere devotee means you recognize artificial. Sincere devotee means you recognize any artificial or secondary conflicting motivation or attraction in you. And you're like, yeah, there it is. I'm honest about it. I'm not going to lie about it. I'm not going to say it's not there. And I'm also not going to do the opposite thing, which is like justify it. Oh yeah, it's totally spiritual to sleep in. It's equally good to sleep in as it is to wake up and chant Hare Krishna. No, I'm not going to lie to myself. What I am going to do is say, this is where I am. I have this affection for my family. I have this duality. I identify with my body to this extent. I have a sweet tooth, or I have this attachment or that attachment, or I'm on social media or whatever I'm doing, wasting my time this way or that way. Okay, but Krishna, please help me. Krishna, please help me. Because I know you can do it in a way that's not artificial. What we find with artificial detachment, that's where it gets problematic. It's like people leave their family. Oh, you're just Maya, people like practice so-called celibacy, but they can't control the mind, get problems. People like try to artificially decrease the amount of sleep their body needs. Next thing you know, they're falling asleep at the wheel, right? And that's material um, renunciation. Spiritual renunciation with Krishna's help means you experience him more and more. And by that, you function in a more and more deep way, right? We're actually functioning really low level at the material platform where it's like, because this person was born of my body, or my wife's body, let's say, then I will go out of my way to serve them. I'll wake up in the middle of the night to feed them. Everyone else can, pardon me, but they can go to hell, right? This is the actual subtext of the false ego. This material attachment is actually a prod to get us to learn how to serve, to get us to learn how to give, to help us to see the value in something beyond our false ego, right? Prabhupada writes about this in Nectar Devotion introduction where he says, like, uh, every society, even animal society, has the ability to give love beyond oneself. And one has to learn how to grow that love beyond one's own body, one's own family, one's own nation, one's own species to find the source of everything. He talks about that in the introduction or preface to Nectar Devotion. Really beautiful. You can check that for more information or more of an elaborate kind of presentation from Srila Prabhupada. And so Kunti's calling out for this. I don't want to be sectarian. I don't want to see people just on the basis of my very limited conditioning. I don't want to see just their coverings. I'm tired of that, right? I want to actually know what it feels like to love people on the basis of that lovable center of who they are. They belong to Krishna. I want to see that. I want to be freed of that which holds me back, right? So for her, it's these things. It could be for other things. It could be other things for ourselves. I'm my the way I'm eating or the way I'm dealing with people or my time management or my distraction is holding me back. Krishna, please help me. So that's one powerful lesson we can ask for these things. And Prabhupada talks about that asking. In the purport, he says how Krishna reciprocates with that asking. Sometimes he reciprocates with a sincere devotee to actually sever their connection to family in a way they were not prepared to do. And it causes immediate pain, but opens the way for tremendous growth. We see this with Narada Muni, who tells about his backstory in the 5th chapter Bhagavatam, also the 6th, first canto. And he talks about how he was attracted to the devotional service of the devotees that he was hosting, that his mother was hosting for the rainy season. And then he says in chapter 6, they left. And I continued my life as a young boy, but my mother was killed by a snake bite. And what happened? 6-year-old boy, no one else in the world but his mother. She passes away. Can you imagine that? No one else. What does he do? Does he just sit there crying? He has his moments, he grieves. And then he said, then I remember the instructions of the devotees. And I left to try to find the Lord in the world, to see his creation, to see what I could learn. And I chanted the mantra they had given me wherever I went. And by that mantra, I had his darshan. He showed himself to me. That's special intervention in his life, right? Special intervention for him. So he wouldn't just lollygag, just wait, just press pause and grow up under his mother's care and milk cows and live like a normal life. He had very high calling. And for him, in that high calling, Krishna accelerated by separating him from his mother, the only person in the world who knew him and cared about him. It's unthinkable. His material life was over. He becomes a complete street, orphan at 6 years of age. But Krishna was taking care of him. So that's an extreme. But it does happen. And Prabhupada talks about in the purport to show how one way or another, and it doesn't have to be so drastic, and it usually isn't, but one way or another, Krishna reciprocates with us to give us what we need, even if it's not what we want. But you can make this growth arc less painful, more smooth, easier, if instead of holding on tight to what you want at the expense of what you need, you may at least recognize, okay, this is what I need. This is what I want with my lower nature. Krishna, I'm gonna meet you halfway. I'm not there yet. I'm not asking for I'm not ready for the highest thing, but please relieve me of these lower things and help me move towards that, right? And if you do that, he'll reciprocate, and he won't have to rip your attachments out of your hands because you're loosening the grip. And that's where the pain comes in. If you're holding on to something really tight, someone rips it out of your hands, that's where the suffering comes. It's the attachment. But letting go of that attachment bit by bit is the work of being a devotee. And so we see here Kunti showing it in the context of family life, which is a remarkable thing. Very very high level of attachment people have to their families. So much so that, as I said at the beginning, it's considered a degraded person who has no attachment to their family. It's like, wow, that must be a really selfish, awful, you know, limited living being, that their petty interests are only about them. So they'll step over their own children, they'll step over their own parents, you know. But no, she's actually saying, I don't want to just be a pious mother. That's not enough. I want to love you. I want to know you. And I know that you're the soul of everybody. So please show that to me and let me love everybody as part and parcel of you. And Prabhupada gives us a glimpse into this beautiful consciousness, this non-sectarian, very broad-minded consciousness, in discussing the six Goswamis, the followers of Lord Chaitanya, who were very, very materially elevated, actually. All of them were very materially elevated. They did not renounce from a position of being social misfits, uneducated, losers, not respected by society. No, they were beautiful. They were wealthy. They were brilliant. They were educated. They were accomplished in all respects. They renounced all of that for the sake of Lord Chaitanya's service, just to write books, to share the science, to exemplify it, to unearth sacred holy places, to translate, to pray deeply for the world. And the level of love and affection they have for everybody, including you and I, they were thinking about us, actually. They were thinking 500 years ago, what will these people in other continents who have no connection, how will they be served? How can they understand Krishna? How can they come closer? So they put their heart into these books, into their prayers. That's a level of living, high functional living, that we can actually have. We can see everybody as family. We can love them. The way we love our children right now, we can love everybody like that. We can have that if we ask for it. So we don't have to be, direct followers of Lord Chaitanya living in loincloths in the jungles of India. All we have to do is understand that he's leading us down a path, Krishna is, that's actually for our own benefit. And so when we feel our attachments being challenged, don't run away from that. Don't be afraid, because it's just Krishna trying to help you let go of something that's not serving you, so we give you something much, 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 much better. And Kunti is so mercifully showing us this, modeling this. It's so relatable. She's a mother. She's been taking care of her children, her sons, as a single mother for years, and she's saying here, though, yeah, but Krishna, let it not be a sectarian love. Let it not be just like, oh, I can love if they have a face that reminds me of my husband's and looks like my face. No, let me love everybody like I love my children. Wouldn't that be something? So we're really looking up to and following the footsteps of this incredible devotee, Kunti Devi, and honoring her courage and praying like this. Help me be freed of attachment to my family. Wow, what a courageous prayer, right? Mm-hmm. And yet we see that it's actually it's an incredibly exalted prayer, and it's for her own benefit, and it's what qualifies her. These kinds of sentiments are part of her qualification as being such a great devotee, so qualified to see Krishna face to face and in everybody. And so generally, before we see Krishna face to face, we have to learn to see him in everybody. We have to learn to see his broader family. Krishna is not satisfied if we see Krishna in our family of blood, but everyone else can, burn as far as we're concerned. He's not satisfied if we start wars based on material things and we call it religion. Oh, we're the chosen people. No, no, no. If you do not actually appreciate how everybody belongs to God, you are not actually spiritual. You are not going to see the Lord. He's not satisfied by that. He won't reveal himself. So our business is to treat everybody as sacred and divine, and to ask for the removal of attachments that get in the way of that. And that momentum, that direction of activity, that kind of living lets one see Krishna face to face. That will attract him. You can see him with your own eyes, face to face, and in your heart. You can see him, truly see him, and nothing else. So Hare Krishna, Om Tat Sat. Talked about material attachment, spiritual attachment, the limited family, the broader family, Kunti's modeling this behavior of asking for the removal of her attachments, and selfishness, and the growth, development of a human being towards gradual selflessness, and broad-mindedness. Now we'll take any reflections.
Mm,
What did you hear?
beautiful class. Thank you. I was just thinking about, I love what you just shared around how it's possible for us. I think it can seem inconceivable. It can seem out of reach to actually be able to see with equal vision at Samadarshana and be able to love all beings the way you love your own child or your own family. And we need, I think people in general need to hear that that is actually possible, but it doesn't just happen, you know, with a snap of the fingers. Like there's practice that goes into it's part of our sadhana is clearing the way for that, right? That's the endeavor that we put forth. And then there's the grace factor, the Krishna
Right.
factor, where that mercy can come, where we can actually see in that way. And so I really appreciate how you spoke about that. And then I guess I'm wondering if you could speak a little bit more about what it would look like, what it looks like to be more detached from your family, you know, in the way that Queen Kunti is praying for, like, let me not see the difference between my family or
Right.
the enemies. Like, what would that look like in a modern sense of like, how does that mean that you'd have to change the way you treat your family? No, it's an internal detachment that you understand. It doesn't mean you don't love and express love in the way that you typically do. Can you speak to that a little bit?
Sure. Narada Muni talks about this in late seventh canto of Bhagavatam. He says that while cultivating internal detachment, while it's just in the context of those who are in grihastha life, who are in the world, socially engaged with families and such, that while cultivating internal detachment from matter, one must remain externally attached. Operate externally as if you are attached. Why? Because it's necessary, particularly with intimate relationships and especially with children, dependents, because they require that. In fact, people require that.
Right.
To the extent that somebody's not yet a pure devotee, to that extent they require some material nourishment and sustenance, and so it can be very disheartening, especially for children. It's impossible to actually like process how a parent could be detached from them.
Yeah.
They'll take it extremely personally. So there's no question of that. That's not what we're asked to do. And Narada Muni explicitly makes that clear. So what this means, becoming detached, is to do the work of getting beyond your own sectarianism, right? Now, so for us as devotees, we're replacing sectarianism because here's like the ugly truth. What we call love in the material context is nothing but sectarianism. That's all it is. It's party politics, right? I love, why do we cheer for one football team over another? Because they're from our city. Or we know someone on the team, or we like the color of their jersey. Something made you decide that's your people. And now they're lining up against another team, so they're the other people. It's like there has to be some petty material sectarian party consideration, right? It's like they share my DNA, they're my people, everyone else no. Like that's very insignificant. So that's not love. That's not actually love. That's a facsimile. It's a facsimile of love, right? Means like it's a word facsimile. Let me look at the word facsimile for you.
Thank you.
That's where we get the word fax.
Onward.
A fax is a facsimile on paper, an exact copy of a picture, piece of writing, etc. Okay. It's a copy.
Yeah.
Right? It's an impression of love. It's pointing at what love could be like. And that's our nature. We're loving. We're units of giving love and receiving love. But it's in the material context, like, look, Dhritarashtra loved his kids. Hitler loved Germany, you know, everyone loves something. But when it comes to family, so then we're being taught how to let go of a lower kind of love, where I love only as long as they have these characteristics that I can relate to materially, and replacing it with a higher love, right? Which is actually helpful, because otherwise we find what happens if you're like, you go to Thanksgiving and your family member who you love because they're family, like, starts talking about political things you don't agree with. Then one love and another love are pitted against each other, right? Then what happens? What happens is you suffer, right? There's friction. Thanksgiving dinner is now an unpleasant event, right? Because the two things you love are being pitted against each other. But if you see them as part and parcel of Krishna, you can deal with them actually better. That's what it looks like. What it looks like when you become free from sectarianism, from material attachment, is you can actually serve them. Because what happens when we have our attachments is we don't actually serve people. We serve to the extent and in relationship to how we identify with them, right? It's like what happens if your like son or daughter becomes a teenager and all of a sudden they can't stand the sight of you. They don't show you any respect. They don't want any of their friends to meet you. Do you still love them the same way? I mean, hopefully, but it's hard. What if they leave? What if they never talk to you again? What if they like never call back? What if they leave the family? Do you still love them? Right? And it's like there's always going to be something. What if they disagree with you? What if they commit a crime? What if they take a life path you completely disagree with? It's conditional. This kind of love is conditional. It's always conditional on something, and that's very painful. It's very painful for the heart to have our love be conditional. That's not what we're made for. We're made for unconditional love. And that's only possible when we view people as their spiritual essence and deal with them that way, right? So that's an internal thing. That's why Prabhupada and all the saints of every tradition have such patience, such humility, such love for everybody, because they see this person belongs to God, right? Francis of Assisi singing Brother Sun, Sister Moon, because he's connected. He knows they're actually, all these little entities, they're actually just like my brothers and sisters.
Yeah.
What a wonderful way to live. So the love actually deepens, becomes more unconditional, more unbreaking, without interruption. And to the extent that we have to fulfill material duties, they continue, but they continue dispassionately, right? Otherwise, the unfortunate reality is that the same material attachments which can elevate a human being from selfish to like civilized. I'm honest. I maintain my family with honest means. I take care of my spouse and children. That same attachment can make them an animal again. People fight each other because someone insults their wife. Trojan War, people go to war because, my country that I identify with, that I'm trying to protect, is getting its resources, are not enough. We have to expand. We have to go get some more from somewhere else because my kids and grandkids have to eat and need more resources. That's out of love for them. I said earlier, a very radical example, but Hitler, he loved Germany in his own way, and it made him do horrible, horrible things. So this kind of so-called love is not enough, and it runs up against attachments all the time. And so we're being guided, and love is our instructor. Love is actually a teacher, even limited love. It's meant to teach us what we're capable of and help us to grow in the direction of expansion, not contraction. Because love makes us bigger. To love somebody means to include them in you and include you in them. It makes you bigger. Selfishness makes you smaller. So bhakti means to widen your love for your family, right? To love them materially, yes, and also to love them spiritually. What if you can get some prasadam? What if you can help them to like chant a little bit? What if you can help them see what you're doing is nice and appreciate it at least, even if they can't participate in it? That's really, spiritual service. What a wonderful thing. While you're going and doing your material duties, that's also going on. And yeah, there's a lot you could say about that. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Haribol. Yeah, no one's asking for us to follow Narada Muni's path, leave an orphan and go become a world acharya. That's a very special thing he did. But we are called on in our own unique ways to work on our material attachments. And we can do that by asking for Krishna to help remove them, which means help spiritualize them. Generally, we're not actually like cutting parts of our lives away so much, especially when it comes to family.
Yeah.
We didn't cut away bad habits. Like, let's say I had a bad habit of smoking something. It's like, yeah, well, like lighting a flammable substance and putting in your lungs is really going to hurt you materially and spiritually. So you might just have to be called to let go of that entirely. But we're generally not called to just cut away our family. What we find is that we're called to spiritualize our relationships. And if you don't ask for it, you don't get it. That's the thing. This is a two-way street. It's a relationship. If we chant Hare Krishna and don't work on spiritualizing our relationships, removing our attachments, then we're not going to get that as fast. It'll be really slow. Progress, if it comes, will be slow. And why not accelerate that? So this call by Kunti is so instructive and so inspirational. So we're following in her footsteps and trying to identify our attachments and ask for Krishna to help. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Jai,
Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai.
jai.
Now let's offer our respectful obeisances unto all the Vaishnava devotees of the Lord, who are just like desire trees, can fulfill the desires of everyone. All the fallen conditioned souls. Jai. Vancha kalpatarupyascha kripasindhubhye vacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo. Hare Krishna. For those in the WhatsApp thread, looking forward to hearing your reflections online. Haribol. Take care.